Hi, this is Dr. Bernardo. I hope you're all well. I wanted to take a minute and catch up with our community, first on the survey we sent out yesterday, and a little bit on some general considerations taking place regarding September. It's important to know from the outset that we do not find ourselves in a position of choosing between a variety of options, which might be the perception. In other words, the governor has made it clear to us that school districts and school superintendents and their districts boards are to prepare a virtual model, prepare an in-person model, and prepare a hybrid model. Period. The decisions, the decisions on which of those models and in what degree, they'll be decided by conditions and by executive order, as they've been. So I wanted to catch up a minute and answer some questions that we've been getting relative to yesterday's survey distribution. First and foremost, we discovered that in many cases the survey went to spam because the word survey in the subject line tends to drive things to spam, to trash. So just take a look there if for some reason, I didn't know that, but I learned. And we also learned that our email system sometimes takes a full 24 hours to deliver 6,000 to 10,000 emails. So just be aware of that. The cycle might be coming through, and if not, we put the survey up on the website as well so you can find it. So we're just hoping to help out there. I also wanted to follow up and explain the reasons why we put the survey in together in the particular manner we did. The bottom line is that we received the 150-page guidance document from the New York State Education Department last Friday evening, which outlined a series of provisions, and we coupled that with the Health Department guidelines and the CDC guidelines. Those three things are tantamount to law for a school administrator. In other words, those are our gospel. As a result, the vast majority of decisions regarding our reopening are quite clearly dictated by law. Therefore, there are certain things which community members might have some very legitimate, strong opinions about, such as masks or no masks, students and staff appropriate social distancing, where and how lunch will be delivered, and a great deal more. That is absolutely not in our purview. It's not in the district's control. Those will be decided by New York State. Additionally, things like more direct teacher instructional time, if we happen to be remote, and clear schedules for students and parents if we happen to be remote, as well as daily disinfecting programs if we're hybrid, health screenings, and a series of other things are also outlined by regulation and being worked on by our committees. So it's important to understand that the survey did not include those items because there are no decisions to make on mask, no mask, hybrid, not hybrid. Those are things that are being decided by executive order. So we have started working with the material that's coming our way, and we're phasing in all the additional directives. But we needed to know it was designed strictly for us to get an idea on how many remote and in-person people we would have, and how many people wouldn't be taking our buses, because social distance guidelines have made it clear that about 50% of our students could be in school if we are open, and we are required to follow that. So we also have to provide a seat on a bus for any student that wants transportation, and have to provide remote instruction for any family that chooses to remain home while we open in a hybrid model. So the survey was brief because we have a remarkable number of staffing and logistics decisions that have to quickly be made based upon that output. So what we did was focus on the things that we have to immediately make decisions on in terms of staffing and transportation. So, I know that I've heard from some of you that you've checked unsure about returning because you really wanted to know what our social distancing practices and mask decisions and cleaning would be before making that decision. It's an excellent point. It makes tremendous sense. I can tell you that while the process is not yet complete, our administration, our committees have been working, going through the guidance, working with the health departments, working with our teams, and things such as temperature checks, mask requirements, limited daily contact and movement, disinfecting, health screenings, and a variety of other procedures are being put in place. And that planning will continue, and it requires a great deal more work, but we have to bring new personnel on board, new materials on board, and we'll get the procedures out to you. We're constantly updating based upon Health Department and CDC guidelines, as well as gubernatorial directives. And we have that first health and safety submission, the rough draft rubric, which will be due to the state on July 31st, and then it'll be worked on as kind of a living, breathing document up into and through the governor's address the first week in August, and then the board meeting in the middle of the month. We also received a handful of suggestions and questions relative to something like the 100-person model versus the hybrid model versus the all virtual model. And of course that if the governor opens schools, the answer is that the New York State directives will dictate how many students can be in school. But it does look like between social distancing, masks, and all those other requirements, if that was the case, and we don't know it's going to be, we're at about a 50% model with square footage at best. So we do have to work with the reality of our square footage. Additionally, we are trying to get the idea through you on exactly how many students would be coming, so we know from that 50% who would be at home in that 50% model. And I say that because we're still working to develop the different scenarios based on the variables that fit within the guidelines. We can't break the guidelines, but we can try to do the best job we can within the guidelines. We also understand that even if the governor opens schools, there'll be some degree of parents that are uncomfortable and will opt their children out for remote instruction. You're not going to get an argument from us. We understand that. We're obligated to educate you, and we completely see that is your desire and your choice. So we also want to know who would choose that, so the best of our collective abilities, we can put staff in that area. Again, this initial survey was designed to inform our planning, and everything from square footage to health screenings to masks to building movement. We need those directives, but we can only do those provisions when we know how many people we're going to be working with and in what combinations. We know your child's schooling is important to you, and right now we understand the circumstances are incredibly fluid and really, really frustrating. And to be honest, we're dealing with the same frustrations with our own kids at home. So please know that while I can't change conditions, we won't pressure you in any way, shape, and form. We're going to do the best we can to keep our schools functioning well and to pivot quickly based on directives and keep everybody safe and have good instruction at the same time. I can assure you that although I'd love to wave a wand and make the virus go away, the only thing I can tell you is that we're going to give it our best effort to making things real quality for you. Please keep your families healthy. What I'm going to do is I'm going to follow with an email in a moment that includes all this, and I put in, for your light reading, I put in the New York State Education Department guidance, a link to that, a link to the Health Department guidance, and the Center for Disease Control guidance. However, please know we will summarize all these things and get them out to you. Like I said, our first deadline is July 31st, and that deadline is very general. It's, for example, it's the governor saying, if you were to have to be in a hybrid model, how will you clean the building? How will you bring students in? How will you handle buses? So those very basic outlines. And then those outlines are going to grow based on some of our internal committee work and some of the feedback we get in the various emails. We read every one in terms of, okay, now how will we make that the best instruction we can make it and move back and forth? So we're kind of creating this plane as we fly it, but I promise you we're creating with open hearts and trying to do the right thing. So give us a call if for some reason you want to change your survey answer based on some of the things we said. We'll just flop it out. It doesn't necessarily have to be anything more complicated than that. Be well. Thank you for listening, and please stick in there with us as we get through this.